Hello and welcome everybody. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. Today's webinar is an exciting one. We're actually going to be speaking about something that we've never done before, but I really feel time is of the essence. This is something we've been working on for over 2 years now, and I don't think timing could be any better off than now. So we're very exciting. We'll quickly discuss a few topics here. We'll go through some extra information and then we'll dive right into today's presentation. If you don't mind, go ahead and adjust your speaker volume, mute your microphone, and all of the questions I'll get to at the end, and I'll go right through it. So thank you so much again for everyone for attending. Let's get this thing started. If you don't know me, my name is Ted Stewart. I'm the Program Development and Compliance Manager here for Exida. I have a little over 10 years of experience in the industry, for this industry anyways. I started off with Lockheed Martin in missiles and fire control in Orlando, Florida. I was a test engineer there. I transferred over to Harris Corporation as a project manager, where I got to manage 14 different classified products. The life cycle was extremely short because the technology was changing so fast, and literally a product's life was maybe a year, year and a half, tops 2 years. So it was extremely fast changing industry. So I was always on my feet and going. And now here at Exida, I've been with them for maybe 7, 8 years. I get to wear a lot of different hats. As you can see, I get to help develop new programs, whether it's in functional safety, OEM, and user functional safety, cybersecurity, automotive, machinery, robotics, you name it. I kind of get my hands in it. And then today, we're actually increasing and enhancing the CFSE program. So every day is a new day, and it's a lot of fun. We are a global company. We have offices around the world. You're kind of going to see these little extra triangles pop up every year. They keep expanding because we are doing really well. One of the latest improvements is that we're making tremendous progress on becoming an official notified body. Everybody knows how the EU is changing, and in the meantime, we have partnered with another company to continue working with those that need an accredited a notified body in order to do the work. So rest assured, if you're working with us, you're already taken care of. We already partnered up with someone in the meantime until we're able to take it over ourselves as well. But that just ensures our customers that they still get the benefit from our services. We are a customer-focused company. We are the only company that encompasses the complete supply chain or life cycle, of functional safety, of alarm management, cybersecurity, and that's what kind of makes us unique and allows us to bring a lot to the table. Besides the fact that we are an employee-owned company, I think that's one of the reasons why I even work as hard as I do, just because the harder we work, the faster we grow Exida, the more we can do for you, the better off we are. And this slide is slightly outdated. We have well over 100 global engineers now. We're probably closing in on 1,500 to 2,000 different certification assessment projects, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're closing in on 1 million different CIFs that we've modeled. So it's been a lot of fun. We all are in it for the long run, and yeah, we're constantly updating and creating new, raising the bar in functional safety and cyber, so to speak. Especially for our softwares, everybody now knows most likely Excellentia. It is a widely used tool in the world, and I only use this slide just to say thanks for everyone that's giving us that feedback. Because all the feedback gets directly into the tool. So the more ideas, the more enhancements, the quicker we can then improve that tool to make sure it's usable in the field to the best of its ability for you, right? The tool is not really for us, even though we use it to do our work. It's really for our customers to become more efficient, and they can spend their time doing other things. So to speak, also for that tool, we now are able to apply it at a module level. So no matter where you are in the life cycle, you can use this tool. You could be designing your SRS. You could be doing proof test generations. You could be working on SIL alarm. You could be doing cybersecurity work. We do now have a module that'll help, and it just carries through to the next phase so that you don't have to duplicate any kind of entries. This is one of my favorite slides, and it's only because it allows us to do more. So we have no secrets. Everything we do, we publish. Even today's webinar, I'm just going to be sharing everything I know about this new CFSE online program. Why? Because the faster you learn, the faster we can start moving on to the next thing, right? Well, I know a few weeks ago we did even a webinar on something called eRAVA. It's just one of those next level of safety. It's all these companies out there that are doing that next level. They're thinking outside the box. They're becoming safer and safer and safer. And so how do we give them credit for doing things that nobody else is doing? And so that's what we're starting to do, is develop skills and techniques to give those companies that are really excelling credit to separate themselves from others. We are the functional safety global leader in functional safety. Same goes for us in cybersecurity. And now what we want to do is talk about a program that we're extremely excited about, because this is something the first time we've ever done this. And I really feel this is really going to change and recognize a lot more experts out there, those that are on these travel restrictions, those that don't have traveling budgets, or might not have the time to take such an exam. We have now found a way. Yeah, it's taken us a while, but we kind of put it on double time when things started changing in our world here with all these restrictions, and we now have an available platform that's going to allow you to take this exam online, and that's such a huge deal. And we're very pleased to be able to offer this to everyone, and we hope it helps. And so what we're going to do in today's webinar is we're really going to explain, because there are new people always on these calls, we're going to explain the certification process, right? The personnel certification process, so we understand what that process is. We'll talk about these new platforms, the criteria of how we chose the platforms, and then we'll talk about what it means for you, and how this does change the paradigm for you. The personnel certification process, there's 4 main things, right? You got the application that you're gonna have to fill out. There's the preparation for the exam. There's the exam itself. And then, of course, there's the grading piece. First is the application form. This form, I mean, it's a simple document. It's got generic information, and once you fill out this form, you basically mail it or email it, excuse me, to the CFSE admins. Okay, the next thing you do, or you can do it in parallel, is you fill out the case study form if it's applicable. Depending on what type of an exam you take, you may or may not have to do this. The website will tell you clearly if this is applicable or not. But basically, what this case study is it kind of demonstrates your skills and knowledge and responsibilities for some specific element of that safety lifecycle or security lifecycle. And it's in accordance to whichever exam you're going to take, whether it's 61508, 61511, 62061, IEC 62443. So, right, all these different industry standards, whichever one you want to take the exam based on, that's the case study you're going to create for that exam. Then the next thing is there's referee statements. You're either going to submit 2 or you're going to submit 4. And these referee statements are actually submitted based on your peers and your colleagues. So what you'll do is you'll actually ask some people, hey, would you give confirmation that you feel I'd be a great candidate to take this exam and that I should be considered a leader or a mentor in our industry? So that's what those referee statements are. And once again, if it's 2 or 4, it all depends on what type of an exam you take. The next one is the copies of licenses, registration, certifications. Once again, this is just another area where we want just to ensure that you're qualified to take this type of an exam. And then lastly, but not least, is the payment for that exam. And it's all done through the website. Nothing that you need to do on paper. Everything is electronic. The next thing, when you talk about the process, is of course your preparation, right? Getting ready for it. And people ask us about, well, how much time should I study? Well, it really does vary around the world based off of each individual person. So it changes. But if I were to give an average of what we see people doing, because everyone loves to tell you how they study for their exam, I would say a rule of thumb is if you're an experienced person, they still take between 20 and 30 hours of prep time in order to get ready for this exam. And of course, there are people that will simply take the training course and they expect to pass that exam, and they're usually deeply saddened when they don't pass, and they wonder why, and they think it's the exam's fault. But just know preparation is key to your success. And so, when I talk about preparation is everything, that kind of ties into this reference material point there, you know, because it's a fun example. And I say, you know, have you ever tried to cut down a tree with a dull axe? You know, and you take the time, if you take the time to sharpen that axe before you cut the tree down, how much quicker it goes, right? And so that's the same thing that applies to your reference material, because if you make sure you understand what's in between that hardcover of that book, and you don't just buy the book and you let it sit there and you bring it to your exam, but you actually go through it, you tab it out, you learn what the sections are, you can now quickly go through that book and find different sections that are applicable to your exam based off whatever questions you're facing, or case study or short answer. You can now use those reference materials so much more effectively, and you have plenty of time to take this exam. And that's just one little pointer to say, look, take the time, prepare. Preparation is everything. And of course, the two other points on here, one is training. You know, there is tons of organizations out there that all say they have the best training, right? They're all at different prices, and you know, there are good trainings out there. They'll teach the concepts. Some trainings are really bad. They might have great advertisements that look really fancy, and then of course there are some really great trainings. So the only thing I'll tell you is do your homework, ask around, because always remember, you do get what you pay for, and don't just put a price on safety. Take it serious, and if you don't take it serious and you're trying to get the best bang for your buck, maybe you aren't ready for it, you know? So, and then finally, the certification, or the certificate program. This is another great benchmark tool, a certificate program. It provides that analysis of where that candidate's strengths and weaknesses lie. It really does help participants kind of judge their competency level if they're really interested in taking that next step, which is what we're talking about today, that personnel certification, whether it's a CFSP, right, a CFSE, or in cybersecurity, it would be a CACE and a CACS. And so that's really a nice benchmark for you to look at. Okay, now we talk about the exam itself. In the exam, for the process, for the process of taking this exam, there's different specialties. For functional safety, I mean, there's anything from a process exam, a hardware exam, a software exam, automotive, machinery. Cybersecurity, there's also 3 specialties that you can take: automation, software development, integration. And so what that means is that, you know, we don't expect someone just to say, here's a functional safety exam. You might be an automotive person, but you expect to take this one exam. No, the exam is actually tailored to your specialty, because why? We want the best chance of you passing, because if you're going to tell us you're an automotive expert, we want an automotive expert. We don't need an automotive expert passing a hardware or software or machinery exam, right? So we want to give you the best chance, and that's why there's specialties within the program. Length of time, it's either going to be 4 hours or 6 hours, depending on the exam type. There are different numbers of sessions. Some exams are 2 parts, some are just 1 part, meaning 1 sitting or 2 sittings. For example, take the CFSE program. You're going to take your case study short answer for 4 hours, and then you're going to take a break, maybe get some lunch, and then in an hour you're going to come back and you're going to take a 2-hour multiple choice section, right? So depending on what type of an exam you're going to take, it depends on if it's going to be 1 or 2 sessions. These exams all come with different question types. It's either going to be multiple choice, it could be multiple choice short answer and case study. For example, your cybersecurity exams, it's all multiple choice, and the passing score for all of them, no matter the exam type, is going to be 80%. Grading, all right? So the grading is the last step of the certification process. So you complete, so essentially what grading is you know, you're going to complete your application. You're not going to get your results if your application's incomplete. You can still take the exam. Say you're rushing it, you got to take the exam, you haven't finished your application yet, go ahead and take that exam, but don't expect to get your results until you complete your exam or your application fully. Right now, the length of time to receive your results is 8 weeks. Why is that? Because we get a lot of people saying, geez, you know, come on, please, I just want my results. I need to know. I need to get this job. My results depend on this next project. I get it. I get it completely. But do know, because we operate per 17024, which is the personnel certification standard, we have to have 2 independent graders, and they have to review and submit their own scores individually. So we have graders from around the world that are going to get these exams, and we have to allow them, we get a certain amount of time to do the grading. When it comes back, it goes to the next person who knows where they are in the world. They get it, they grade it, they come back, and then if a candidate wants to challenge those two graders, maybe they don't like their score, they want to understand more about it, then there's a third grader that gets involved, and this grader would then once again grade it independently. But then what's the kicker here is if you do have that third grader, this third grader would then talk to you in person, on the phone, virtually, and they'll go over various topics that you missed. You guys can have a conversation, maybe try and understand. Maybe there's some misunderstandings on how you interpreted the standard. Things like that can be discussed. However, do know that no direct questions will ever be discussed or answered. The reason for that is because if we discuss any specific question, that question then needs to be retired and it can never be used again. Why? Because that now gives that candidate an unfair advantage, because now they know the answer to a question that nobody else does. And so that's the reason why we have to keep those out of the hands of candidates. And that's why we don't discuss questions, is because we want to be able to reuse them and keep everyone at a fair playing field. Now, what you'll know about this certification process is that the first two here are very student dependent. Okay, it's totally up to the candidate. The application, the preparation, that's totally up to them. The other two, though, this is the exciting part. The other two are program dependent, and this is where we come into play. This is the exciting part, and this is when we get to start talking about these new platforms. Okay, it sounds easy. However, for us to maintain this high bar that was set for this program and maintain competency and maintain the reassurance that we're not diminishing a program by changing it, there was a lot of criteria that we had to meet. Our advisory board was so good at bringing up new topics, new ideas. I mean, the discussions went back and forth. It was daunting. It was a lot. However, we got through it all. And so what I want to tell you about is three main categories. We had the candidate, we had a category within the exam, and the security, and you can kind of see bits and pieces of what we're going to be discussing, but there was a lot that we needed to discuss before we even could think of what platforms to use. And so as we started going through them and we had these three categories, we're like, okay, what platforms can we use that will make sure we have these considerations? Okay, and so that was the biggest thing that we had to do, because it was our utmost importance to make sure we didn't sacrifice that high bar. So the first thing we wanted to start looking at as far as criteria is concerned is the accountability. The new platform must be able to hold the candidate accountable when walking through the examination process from start to finish. Sounds pretty reasonable. You know, this would include creating a username and a password, determining the best time to take that exam, and ensuring that this candidate was in a secure and quiet location, right? We wanted to make sure that they'd be able to identify and verify that they are truly that person who they said they were going to be. And there's so much more here, right? Giving the time limits, and things of that nature. So there was this criteria that we had to make sure that candidate met. The next thing is when we talked about the exam. Of course, this one's pretty critical as well. The exam is basically, it's how do we ensure that that candidate is not hindered by the online exam? Okay, you know, like the ease of use of the platform, it's got to be clear, it's got to be precise, and it must be understood in a global platform. We have to keep in mind that language barrier, right? And when you keep that in mind, why not start thinking about ways to help improve this program as a whole, right? So we started thinking, okay, well, these are all things that we must do, but what are some things that people are struggling with? Well, wouldn't it be great if we could minimize that 8-week turn time for the exams? I mean, that would be pretty cool. So that was taken into consideration when we were looking at platforms. Or what about having automatic way to perform these psychometrics and improving our exams more regularly? And if you're not sure what psychometrics are, actually, I put the link in here. Now, we just did a webinar a few weeks ago with what that even means, but basically, just to sum it up, all of our exams have statistics. Each question has statistics, and it's all based on how well somebody does on an exam. Then they have a set of statistics. If someone fails the exam, then that's a different category of statistics. And so when you mesh all these statistics together, you kind of can see a range of if this question was too hard or if the question was too easy, because both of those need to get removed out of that exam. You don't want questions that everyone gets right, and you don't want questions that everyone gets wrong. okay? And so you have to find this common ground, this range, this sweet spot, so to speak. And that's what psychometrics is, and that's how you develop the perfect exam that's fair across the board, okay? The next one is, of course, security. This is probably the most important topic that we discussed about this program to make sure it's not tainted. We needed to make sure that the high bar that the CFSE program held, it remained there. And the new platform must be able to include like a live proctor. And we want to ensure the candidate's not able to cheat the system and ensure that there's no unfair advantages. And we'll talk about that. And so after all these criteria were were determined, discussed, we went through all the different programs out there from around the world, taking each one into consideration. And the new platforms that we chose, I feel like there should be a drum roll, right? Were we couldn't pick one. We had to pick two. And it was exhausting. But the two that we now are moving forward with, one is called Gauge. It's by test.com. The other one's by Proctor U. The reason why we needed two platforms was because we needed one to keep our psychometrics, our statistics, keep that all in mind. We needed to have a database of questions that was safe, secure, and could only limit people access if they needed the access, right? So we needed that security for our database to keep it secure. And then we needed a proctoring system that would monitor these students and make sure the security was there when they're watching the students take the exam. And I'll go into more detail and actually show you a quick example of what that even means. The great thing with Proctor U that was a deciding factor is they also operate per 17024, which is that personnel certification program. So it was really nice to have that common ground to know that they went through the same rigor that we do when they operate their platform. All right, so here's what it means, right? We're now going to take a look at the new exam process that's now going to be online, and we're going to look at the enhanced grading process as well, because these are some things that we can take care of, that we can help make better. So what does it mean for you? All right, here we're getting fun stuff now. Check this out, and this is just a short list of things that we're now able to do. And I'm going to read through each one because it's interesting. But the first thing is the candidate, right? There's now going to be creations of a login and password on both platforms. There will be the candidate will now be able to schedule their own online exam when they want the exam. It's not based off of, oh, you can take it one time in 6 months at this location. No more of that. You can now, every 15 minutes, there's a new exam available to you to take. Pretty cool. And it's around the world. So if it's 3 a.m. for me, you can still take the exam at that time if that's the best time you want to take that exam. And it's okay. The only thing that we say is we want 72 hours to get ready for you to take that exam. Anytime within the 72-hour window, you can't do. All right. Well, you can, but there's more complications to it, and we can talk about that offline. But 3 days, right? 3-day window of heads up is all we now need. There's going to be live technical support available before and during the exam. After, you're already done, so you don't really care. The authentication, there's going to be ID captures, there's going to be facial recognition. We're even going to do keystroke analysis because everybody types differently. So there's a lot of cool security features that we wanted that are now included when someone takes this type of an exam. The exam will allow live notifications. It will alert us if they suspect any kind of cheating behaviors. Only authorized reference material can be used. And of course, we will get that automatic psychometrics that we wanted because we have two different platforms that we're using. More security stuff. The proctors, they're going to be trained and certified to be able to monitor our tests. There's going to be video timelines with real-time incident stamping and end-to-end recording. So you will be recorded when you take these exams. And if we do notice anything, we can rewind back and see if it was truly cheating, if there was some kind of suspicious activity, or what, maybe you had to scratch your nose. So at least there's that proof there. There are some artificial intelligence capabilities that are going to be also monitoring, like your monitors, and if you have different applications open in the background, that'll all be known. There will be location tracking, where when you tell us you're going to be taking it at a certain location, you truly are taking it there, and you don't have someone remote accessing in to take the exam for you. There's live exam session viewing, right? So our administration can actually review everybody taking the exam if they need to. So if there's a bunch of people taking these online proctorings and they're all taking the exam, our administration can actually patch into and view as well to make sure that everything is secure. So as you can see, we've thought about a lot of stuff, and guess what? It's all now incorporated. We're now able to do all of these items, and it's pretty neat to see how we were able to create it. I think we even raised the bar from just even a classroom setting where, sometimes the proctors, bless their hearts, they're in there for 4 to 6 hours. They might be checking their own email, checking their phone because, these students are just taking the exam in quiet, but they might not realize that they might be hushing back and forth to each other. Now all of a sudden all that stops. With this online exam process, there's no more of that. There's no more group settings where people can actually kind of show each other a paper or two, right? It's now gone. And it's so much and so that, like, even when you take notes, you're allowed like 3 or 4 pieces of paper when you take your online exam. You now have to show those notes to make sure nothing on there you can hand off to somebody else, right? And say, oh, look, I took these notes while I took this exam. No, you can't do that anymore because you're now going to have to show evidence of what is on those pieces of paper. And so it's pretty neat stuff. All right, so now let's talk about, I'm gonna go into a quick example with what you would see when you do this online exam, okay? So the online process is pretty much the same, right? You're gonna complete your application. There'll now be a sign-in link. There'll be 2 different ones. One, you'll sign in to get access to the database and to get your exam. The other one is you're gonna have an account where you're actually gonna be signing in the Proctor because you wanna select what time you wanna take the exam so that this proctor's ready for you when you are. There also is going to be atmosphere preparation. What that means is when you sit down for the exam, you're going to have to go through a series of steps to make sure the area you are in is secure, it's quiet, there'll be no interruptions, because if there are, you can implicate the results of your exam and actually get failed due to suspicion of cheating, right? So we take it extremely serious. If you're going to take this exam online, we just have some basic things, basically meaning you should don't be the only one in that room for the duration of that exam, and some other things. And I'll show you some examples here. Of course, you'll be going through the exam, and then there'll be a grading process, which because it's now going to be online, keep in mind, because I had a question from it this morning, keep in mind that the grading process is still going to have that human touch. It won't be automatically graded, and we cannot do that because we don't think that's fair. What I mean is that the standards are always kind of have some gray area, so we're still going to allow you to explain an answer if you need to, right, with a comments field. So you can explain, because sometimes you might get the wrong answer, but your justification is like, you know what, I see where they're going with, I agree with that, let's give them the points for that question. So that still exists. Okay, same with the short answer, case study, multiple choice. So do know that's still good, but we still need our human touch, and so our graders will have to go through the exams like they do now, except now they'll at least get everything electronically and they can grade faster this way. Okay, so here's what you're gonna see. You're getting ready, you're excited, you wanna take this exam, you create your accounts, and the first thing you wanna do is, let me schedule my exam, right? So you're gonna see a screen like this, and look how cool it is. You're gonna be able to, it's like every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, you can pick a time when you go to your calendar on the left-hand side, right? And you say, okay, I wanna take the exam on June 29th. Boom, you select that, and then all of a sudden, you can say, okay, I wanna take it at 3:15 p.m., right? And you can click that and you can hit select. And that'll allow you to pick your exam as long as it's 72 hours in advance. The next thing you can do is when you're ready to take the exam, and these are just screenshots, these are just examples, just to give you an idea, I will be doing a webinar on the complete process that you'll see when you take this online exam. And I got to do it soon because I already know like 50 or 60 people that want to take this online exam like tomorrow. So I got to hurry up. But I wanted to get this information out there because it is really exciting stuff. But, before you're ready and you're going to sign in at your appropriate appointment time, there's going to be a start link. And before that start link, you actually will see a countdown. And you click, and when you sign up for the exam, it'll say, you have 15 days and 36 minutes to take this until the exam starts. And it's cool. You get a countdown. And then when the countdown finishes, there's a start button that replaces that countdown. And when you click the link, it then brings you into that proctoring room. And, you'll be asked to do things like confirm your name. You'll need to confirm that you understand the exam rules, and that they'll do a computer check to make sure that the basic requirements are there. Like, you need a good internet connection, you need to be in a secure location, it needs to be quiet, you need to have a microphone, you need to have a webcam. All of these things are required. Why? Because when you start doing this, you have to put up a government ID, right? And they're going to have to verify that. They do that when you sign up, and then they do it again when you're taking the exam. Why? We want that security authentication. We want to make sure the person that signed up is the person that is going to be taking this exam. All right, and if a photo is blurry, then you have to retake it until that proctor accepts it. Okay, and you can see here on the right side of your screen how there's this like green box that and I think it's white at first, and then you put your face in it and it will go green. You take the picture and then that's your picture, and then they're going to do it again when you take the exam to verify that it is the same person. And that's what the government ID does as well, as they confirm the image on either a license, a passport, make sure it's the same as they see in person as well. And as you can see, these wouldn't work because one's a female, one's a male, you know. So, but like I said, it's just an example of what you're going to be having to do. The next thing is the proctor is then, when you're ready to take your exam, you're gonna have to do a physical test of going around the area, and you're gonna literally, if your camera's on your laptop, you pick up your laptop and you're literally gonna pan it around the room in a 360 degree to show your surroundings so they can see what's in that room. For example, if they see a cell phone, that's got to go away, right? If they see unauthorized things, they got to go away. If there's a person in there, they got to go away. If there's a dog, you take your own chances with that. I don't know if they're really going to help you or not, but so they got to go away because you got to be in a safe and secure area. Another thing that they might do is they might ask for some kind of reflective surface. So you might even have to have a mirror in there to ensure that there's no sticky notes on that monitor, right? So that you have to take the image with the mirror and point it at your laptop to see if there's no notes around the edges of that laptop screen that you could be using that you don't want the proctor to know about. So the proctor then will secure the virtual area and the environment. They'll let you know once again if there's anything unknown, or they'll then program into your computer. They'll take control of your mouse. They'll check to see if you have any multiple machines or programs or any cloned monitors, and they'll close all that, or they'll ask you to close all those different applications that are unallowed. And then once they secure everything, you can move on to the next step. So as you can see, there was a lot of thinking involved. The next thing that you'll be asked is if there's recording, right? So there will be a recording, and you must agree, as you see the screen in front of you, to these statements. If you disagree and you don't allow someone to record you, then you're simply not allowed to take the exam. You must consent to allowing us to record you, or you will not be able to take the online exam, and that's only for security purposes. After you secure and you're getting in there, the proctor will show up via a webcam. There's a screen sharing type of software that takes place. Once again, they check your ID that you used earlier, and as long as it's eligible, they'll move forward with you. If it's ineligible, they'll ask you to retake it with your camera again, and then there'll also be a chat bar, and you can see here that the proctor will chat to you, say, hey, how are you doing? My name is so-and-so, and you can respond back. They'll give you directions via the web chat, or they might talk to you via the microphone. More than likely, it's just the chat box, so then you can just type and you can keep moving along, and they'll check your profile picture and things like that and make sure everything is good. After that, you'll have to go through onto an authentication with a quiz. That usually uses like challenge questions based on publicly available records. The questions are really just related to previous addresses, phone numbers, if you had any roommates or relatives, right? This is nothing that ProctorU knows about. These questions are literally just pulled off of the web, and there'll be questions that that you'll know, like, hey, did you ever live at this address, right? And this is just checking the authentication of the person. If they can get around the recognition of the face and the ID, this is just one more check to make sure that this is truly you. So you can see it's a very rigorous process, but as long as you are who you are, I mean, all this stuff is real simple. I mean, you'll fly through it. I think signing up and getting ready for your exam literally takes 5 minutes, if it truly is you. If it's not, you're gonna have to think about it, because you gotta figure out where this person used to live. And so that's really it. You know, as you go through here, and then after that, you say, oh, great, awesome, Ted. You know, good luck on your exam. I hope you do well. You'll have a link that we'll give you. You open up that link. It'll be through the other platform, which is Gauge. And then there'll be a password for you to take the exam. That proctor already has that password. They'll have access to your computer. They'll type that password in, get you straight into the exam, and you are free to go and take your exam. And I wish you good luck, and we wish you good luck. And throughout the entire exam process, you'll have a live chat available and you'll even have a video if you want it, where you can talk or chat to that person to make sure if you have a question, you need to do something, they can answer all the non-technical things. Of course, they can't help you answer any kind of questions on the exam. They won't know anything about the exam, but they can at least help you with technical support. And that is the new online way of taking this exam. We're very excited. That was the quick rundown. I hope you found that useful. I know I'm going to be doing a live webinar. I think it's going to be live, but at least I'll do a tutorial, a step-by-step tutorial of what to expect, so that when you do sign up for this exam and you want to take it online, and if you want to be impatient, you can do it without me. But if you want to wait for my recording, I'll do one. So I'll actually go through and do a live demo and walk through the whole process, and you can see what I do and how I do it. And I'll get that recorded as well for future people. In regards to trainings, everything's pretty much going virtual training classrooms. You can see here, there's just 3 of them here. The locations now, we might still hold them at these locations, but just keep in mind, I think everything is we now have a virtual training room where we have the live instructor. It's almost as if the instructor's right there with you. We have whiteboards, special cameras, green screens, different microphones. I mean, we went all out to create this because we don't know how long this will last, but we're ready for you because we don't want to hinder the experience and hurt the level of knowledge that you should be receiving. Of course, we all know about the online self-paced training. More of these are popping up. We're very, very, very quickly trying to get more and more of our courses to an online version so that you can take full benefit of them. And now let me open it up for questions. Let's see what we have here. But I do want to say thank you to everyone that did listen in on today's webinar here. All right, the first question I have, is this available to the CFSP program as well? Yeah, so maybe my title was misleading when I said the CFSE is now online. It's actually everything is now able to take online. So whether you want to take the certified functional safety expert exam, the CFSE, or the professional, the CFSP, yes, those are both available. Please contact the CFSE administration prior to you taking the exam. They'll give you all the instructions. They'll get everything ready for you. There might be a few specialties that we still need to get approved questions. What's going on right now behind the scenes, just so that you know, is when we transfer from database to database, because we're using new platforms, we just want to make sure the transfer happens seamlessly. And if there's any questions in there that are old, maybe to a previous standard, we want to make sure everything is up to date, current, and fresh, so that when you do take this exam, you have the best experience possible and the fairest questions possible. So that's what we're going through. We're just kind of reapproving questions, and we have a lot of people working on that, trying to make this happen right away. So yeah, just let us know what exam you need to take, and we'll make sure it's ready for you so that you can take it online in the comfort of your own home, your own office, and whatever dress code you'd like. So any other questions? Will the fees all be the same? Yes, so we're not changing anything. All the costs associated with this, we're just going to leave them the same. If anything, it's going to cost you less because you don't have to travel anymore. So you can kind of save all of those expenses if you had to get hotels and food and stuff like that. You now only have to pay what the exams normally cost. We're not going to charge more. We're going to leave everything alone, and you just have to make sure you schedule the exam 3 days in advance to refrain from any additional fees. You can take it less than less than 72 hours, but there will be an additional fee. It's nominal, but there is at least something there because for us to get a proctor ready for you, it's a little more work. But I mean, come on, 3 days is not is a pretty nice window there, so you don't have to worry about that. Any other questions? What I will do, because that is the end of the questions, I will take all the questions from this morning and this webinar. I'll put them in a Q&A FAQ type of sheet, and I'll personally email everybody that was on this call that sheet so that you have a copy of those questions, okay? If you have additional questions, you have my email in front of you, almost. You have my email in front of you now. Feel free to send me some emails. I'll help you out. I'll link you with the admins or our manager within the CFSE program, and we'll get you all set up and straight, and we'll go from there. Well, I thank you all for the time. I hope you find this exciting because I know we do. And I wish you all the very, very best of luck. Stay safe, and we'll speak with you soon. Take care for now, everybody. Bye-bye.